286. We're trying to go as far as we can tonight. Chapter 286 to chapter 298. So we are dealing with Musaf. We are dealing with Kiddush during the day, with lunch, with Sudash Leshit, and with Havdalah. So the first points we already covered in Shul between Mincha and Ma'ariv. When is the correct ideal time to daven Musaf? Right after Shacharit, and within the first
7 hours.
7 hours of the day. If you let time pass, what's your status?
No. You can still. Time passed from 7 hours.
From 7 hours. In other words, it's 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. You still do it, but you're considered negligent, posheya. Yeah. Then what happens if you forgot to daven Musaf, or for one reason or another you weren't able to? Now Shacharit, you want to know, Sunday morning, you want to know, can you make up for yesterday's Musaf? Or Saturday night, you want to know if you can make up the Musaf? You cannot. What happens if you ended up davening Musaf before you daven Shacharit?
Yeah, okay.
That's fine, your Musaf does count. We also saw that a Musaf is not only an obligation on the community, but even on the individual. Next halakha, number 3. Are you allowed to eat in between Shacharit and Musaf?
Yes.
The answer is yes. However, you must make Kiddush in between Makom Suda. That Kiddush only is relevant if you are having a meal. So you need to have it or not, because there's an opinion that even a revi'it of wine can do the trick. So it has to be considered a Suda, that it got Kiddush with your Suda. But that can't. And then you have some fruit, cup of coffee, any of that. You can make Kiddush on a cup of coffee. We'll come and eat in between, even as we said a little bit, but that's really just to make you feel strong again, not to have before Musaf. Now, times when you could. So a good example here is Torah. You got a long before Musaf, whatever else. So after Shacharit, you're going into Hakafot and the Chatan Torah and all of that. So then what you'll do is you make Kiddush. People have a little bit of cake and whatever else. Then you say your after brachas and head back into Shul. So you can eat between Shacharit and Musaf, as long as the focus is on giving you strength, not on having a meal. Another example is in Azek Yeshiva. We used to have a Kiddush bracha before shofar blowing on Rosh Hashanah. So again, that would be the same kind of. The Mishna Brura even says if you are properly feeling weak and you just can't even, but it's going to be a real story to get Kiddush, so then you can even eat without Kiddush. That's what he says. Again, if that's what
is classified as a real story?
Yeah, but what Menachem's saying, that you're not able to get one. Anything else to make Kiddush on it. So then you can have, fruit and whatever. If it's not that you're feeling weak and it's not, we'll come to Chamer B'din in a second. If it's not that you're feeling weak and it's not that you don't have wine, then you can't rely on this. But we could imagine a situation you can eat without it. Now the next thing is, so we're going to come to that Kiddush in the middle one. But it says, what happens if you did delay Musaf for one reason or another, ended up getting quite late, and it's actually Mincha time. So you could do Musaf. Now I'm not saying Mincha time at the end of the day. It's a time at which it's 1:30, whatever. You haven't even delayed Musaf so much. 6.5 hours into the day, Mincha time is opened and ideal Musaf time is not yet closed. So now you've got the question: do we do Mincha or do we do Musaf? What's the logic each way? Why would we do Musaf and Mincha? It's good thinking, but what's the logic? Because that's the matter was in the Beit. On the other hand, the rule is tadir v'she'ein or tadir kodem, whatever is the way. Right? There are many situations where we're doing mincha later on. So then you do Musaf. And he says, some actually say we don't do this like to people. So on that, nowadays we have this established fact we're going to be called union later on, and so therefore we allow ourselves to have the meal and everything else, and we'll come back for shul later. So that's a relevant thing as well. If you're on your own somewhere on holiday and you've delayed your davening, you know, by the time you get to Musaf, technically you could daven mincha. So then it seems you need to daven mincha before you have lunch. So perhaps you should daven mincha first and then Musaf afterwards. The last halakha of this chapter, that on Shabbos and Yantiv, you don't say Baruch Hu at the offering. Now remember, that's the custom that you hear the Israelis often, you know, in Israel. Next chapter, can you do what?
Saying about the Baruch Hu.
The Shulchan Aruch. That Hashem has power to bring healing, you know, very soon. And the Mishnah Brura adds in a similar formula for when it comes to visiting the mourners. Shabbati milanachem v'nechama krova lavo. It's Shabbos, so we can't comfort, but we hope that comfort will come. However, some even say that you can say the regular formula of Hanachem Yenachamecha, Hamakom Yenachamecha, may Hashem comfort you. And I would say, you know, in South Africa, that you would say to the person, long life, wish you a long life. So that you could also do according to this Mishnah Brura, you could do that on Shabbos.
Is wish you a long life only a South African?
Yeah, it's a South African thing, they don't do it anywhere else.
Really?
Just the
but people tell me that it's a South Africanism. Oh. Yep.
Just like the bracha.
Exactly like the bracha. So that's what you do. You can go visit. You don't make application on Shabbos. But we don't do that after Kabbalat Shabbat. We do it before Kabbalat Shabbat. How do we accept Shabbat in our communities? Mizmor Shir Yom HaShabbat. So when do we get the well, we don't. I mean, if that's what I'm saying. You can see that we don't. During the mornings. So they would then see that isn't the minhag. But what if the mourners are coming later? Let's say the mourners come more shir. Let's say even it's after Baruch Hu, nobody's going to be making any after Pameh Madlikin. And then the mourners come in, so you would not have a public greeting of the mourners, because that's already in public. But if somebody would want to privately go up to them and say, I wish you long life, that would be fine. Next chapter, 288, the laws of as a general rule. General rule, no. And the Mishnah Brura makes this important point. If you're not eating is a fast, then any amount of time. In other words, even if somebody says, I'm going to fast for the first hour that I'm awake, and he wakes up early, and he fasts, and he's thirsty, but he doesn't have a glass of water, because he's fasting for the first hour, then as an hour's elapsed, then he has his glass of water, then he goes to shul. So he drank before shacharit and all of that, it was water, there was no need for kiddush, no problem over here. However, that first hour when he was awake, his not eating or drinking was because he said he's fasting. That's problematic on Shabbat. We don't fast on Shabbat in any of those classic ways.
What if he forgot?
Forgot what?
He said, I would need the first hour. He completely forgot Shabbos morning. Then after Shabbos, after he finished the shul, he remembers he didn't eat for the first hour because he ate after shul. And
was there a time when he didn't eat because he's fasting?
He didn't realize he's fasting. He said Friday night, I'm going to fast the first hour I wake up.
I don't think that's a question that should concern us too much. Let's say the more usual cases. You shouldn't make such a rule. That's the idea. You shouldn't make such a rule. If you woke up without any preconceptions, you just went to shul and you know what it was. The rabbi taught for long. The chazan, of course, it was Birkat HaChodesh, it was Hallel, the whole thing. Now this would be especially in Durban more than Cape Town, because you know Durban all the times are like an hour earlier. Here, like 1 o'clock or 1:15. You know, Durban is like. It can be on some of these long Shabbases. Say yes. However, the Mishna Brura says he brings opinions that if the reason after Chatzot is because of davening, you don't need to worry about it.
That would be a problem.
Going to Vas until you're saying I want to eat. I'm going to eat as soon as it's relevant, but I'm not going to eat before Kiddush. So that's what he's saying. That's what the Mishnah brings down. They support to be later over the big day Yesha Shal Mordechai Kamet Shabbos Katat Kamken Chimuta early minyanim. Finish davening at 10 or 9:30. So then you say, I'm going to do that. Now we'll eat a little bit later. Next thing you know, it's after Chatzot. That you shouldn't do. But if the reason you end up eating later is because you're learning and davening, then that's not a problem. In fact, even if you're at this early minyan, and let's say there's no bracha, but your chavrutza is there, and your chavrutza says to you, listen, let's sit and learn for 2 hours, and then we'll go home. So it's not a problem to learn. Let's say you're starting at 10, you're learning till 12, you'll be home at 12:30, only eating after Chatzot. That's not a problem because you're not fasting, you're just busy learning and davening. So people come up to me sometimes when it's some of these long services like a Shmini Atzeret or whatever else, or and you've got Megillat Rut on Shavuot, all these kinds of things. So somebody comes up to me very concerned, Rabbi, look at the time, it's almost Chatzot. Firstly, I say, I'm in Cape Town, I don't think we've ever finished after Chatzot. No, but it's getting close. I don't think we've ever finished after Chatzot. Secondly, even if we're finishing late, even if we finish after Chatzot, because is to because the food that you eat afterwards also doesn't give you so much energy. And whatnot. There's people that classic example of this would be somebody sick. I know what's good for them. Then they don't eat. Is that the
someone who fasts during the week very often.
Yes, exactly. We'll get that in a second as well. The whole Oneg Shabbos. You have to have Oneg Shabbos. But if this person's Oneg Shabbos is not to eat, Oneg Shabbos, you're not going to force him to eat in a way that's not going to be Oneg Shabbos. The whole point is that he should have Oneg Shabbos. Now the Ramos has an interesting case. Somebody who would have Oneg if he would cry, because then the pain would leave his heart. Then he is allowed to cry on Shabbat. So you can imagine somebody sad about all kinds of things, and he wants to cry on Shabbat and get it out, and then he'll feel better. So that he says is fine. However, the Mishnah But he says, no, this is not just talking about somebody just crying because they're sad. It's talking about somebody who's crying from deep spiritual reasons. Crying from a dveikut with Hashem, from this close connection to Hashem. However, the Mishnah Brura also brings opinions, the Elia Rabbah and the Tosefet Shabbos, who say that you can cry if you're just feeling sad generally, because that is going to help you feel better. So again, let's say you've got somebody going through tremendously difficult circumstances in life. He feels unsure. So it's an argument, is that appropriate? Individuals, but the Elia Rabbah and the Tosefet Shabbos actually event situation. Next halakha is what Chad mentioned now. If somebody eats, somebody fasts throughout the week, fasts every single day, he have to it doesn't say he doesn't have to. We have seen many great people fast on Shabbos for this reason. And it's similar to the previous one. Just like with somebody who's sick, that eating is actually harmful and difficult for him, so too this person who never eats during the day, and it's going to be very uncomfortable, so we don't force him to eat. Now, the next topic in this section is the Ta'anit Chalom. So the basic idea is, when this is a dream that indicates an evil dream, says that a false reflex, everything is to worry about it at all. So there is a permission to this bad decree. The Mishnah Brura adds in, however, that there's two provisos over here. The one is the dreams, and it feels that the fast is going to help. In other words, if somebody doesn't feel bothered, it doesn't actually. Then you're not supposed to fast on Shabbos. In this case, we'll allow you to fast on Shabbos because we're worried about this. That will be atoned, that you announce whenever you're going to just don't push it off to next Shabbos. Certainly, if Sunday is, so you fasted on Shabbos, now you need to make up for it. If Sunday is Chanukah or Rosh Chodesh or Purim or something like that, then you don't on Shabbos. Has a Shabbos shlof, and while he has his to go. Alrighty, so the next thing is, but even if you only fasted a partial fast on Shabbos, so let's say again you had your mid-morning nap, slept from 11 till 12, woke up at 12, you're feeling very, very disturbed, so then you fast from 12 until midnight. You still need to fast on Sunday or a subsequent day because you still had a part fast on Shabbos. So even if it's only a part fast on Shabbos, you need to make up for it. But now he says that some say you found an early book. I think there's actually more than three. One